Again, on page 208 of the book Fighting for Honor, when J.R. Moore said the fight with or without weapons did not alter the form or the techniques. So, for the same reason, it's like with or without weapons, it's with or without a hard blow. Because what is with or without weapons typically? Either I'm punching you or I'm stabbing you, which is going to be worse if I stab you, right? So regardless of how hard I hit you, what I hit you with, the form and the technique is the same. Let me just read it again. Let's get this established now. Ladies and gentlemen, according to J.R. Moore, let's start one sentence here. However, 20th century blade usage clearly suggests that the technical use of the razor was an extension of the unarmed jogo de capoeira tradition. According to J.R. Moore, the fight with or without weapons did not alter the form or the technique. Let's go ahead and start a little bit earlier. The extent to which these razor fighting traditions would have moved beyond individual fighters and been widely adopted into the tradition is another question. Details from 19th century written sources are not sufficient to tell how the razor was actually used in combat. However, 20th century blade usage clearly suggests that the technical use of the razor was an extension of the unarmed jogo de capoeira tradition. According to J.R. Moore, the fight with or without the weapon did not alter the form or the techniques. Now, how many of you think that sparring or having capoeira matches has no purpose at all? If we were going full fucking fledged, heated, angry, making split-second decisions, focused, right? The result would be the same as the sparring match as far as blows go. It then becomes a matter of, can you effectively strike them so their endurance, their stamina, and their ability to withstand a blow, doesn't save them from being killed, crippled, disabled, incapacitated, neutralized. With or without the weapons, the form and the technique doesn't change. I've been saying this for years, ladies and gentlemen, years. Before I even read that part, I had already said, to the best of my memory, I've already said independently that if I can punch you first, if I can strike you first, if I can score a point first, I could stab you first for the same reason. How many of you want to get punched? Say, I am a fucking dumbass if I want to get punched. Say, I am an equally a dumbass if I enter a competition wanting to win and I want to get scored on. I am the biggest, now say I am the biggest dumbass of all if I think that doesn't mean that that person could have also stabbed me for the same fucking reason, with the same form and technique. Starting to understand me? Starting to feel me? Just so you guys get it through your heads. Let's read it one last time. Matter of fact, I'm going to put this on the screen. You should see it on the screen this whole time. It's 209 or 208. Yes. The extent to which these razor fighting traditions would have moved beyond individual fighters and been widely adopted into the tradition is another question. Details from the 19th century written sources are not sufficient to tell how the razor was actually used in combat. However, 20th century blade usage clearly suggests that the technical use of the razor was an extension of the unarmed jogo de capoeira tradition, according to J.R. Moura. The fight with or without weapons did not alter the form or the techniques. Now, let me give you another example. The razor, which was too important to drop from the arsenal, was instead grafted onto the core tradition in an even more harmonious way. Going back to the harmony, the rhythm, the drumming, the dancing. The razor was held between the toes of the foot. This allowed capoeiras to maintain the added efficiency of the blade without sacrificing the feet as the primary articulators of the tradition in the jogo de capoeira. It is interesting to note that the creation of formal academies for the martial art in the 1930s effectively eliminated the use of the razor from the educational curriculum of trainees, and the art overwhelmingly reverted back to its ancestral unarmed component of kickboxing with some use of the head. The unarmed components of capoeira that were from the ancient time, the ancestors, the ancestral unarmed forms is what this school's reverted back to. It's not saying that it was all unarmed. So when you look at the traditions, right? Why in the 1930s did it change? Well, in the 1930s, it was in between World War I and World War II. It was a certain environment going on. You had, Capone and them, everything that had happened. You also had an emphasis on assimilation, multiculturalism, if you will, moving toward ending segregation, because you had segregation still, right? The whole Jim Crow thing. And then they take away the razors in the schools, and they focus on one component, which is what I'd argue that basically that these MMA guys, they pick things that are good for fighting in the ring. Okay, that's what they pick. That's what you do in sports, right? You choose things like in football that are conducive to being a good football player. I focus on the things that make one a great warrior. I admit that there are large components and portions of Mantu arts, Horus arts, leopard arts that are lost to me. I'm not, part of any group that, is privy to any knowledge or, but I've done a good job piecing together my martial arts system. I'm proud of it. I'm glad. I think a lot of people don't want to give me my credit because it's just uncomfortable. I think it's like it's almost, they almost feel shamed. But in martial arts, you've got to take that hit to help you become a better martial artist. It helps shape your moral code, and it helps you focus. When you accept and respect those who are better than you are, you know that you work hard. And plus, if you ever make it to that point, you want everyone else to respect and accept you as well. Now, with that being said, doesn't mean you have to agree with everything they said. When I was younger, I didn't agree with certain aspects of traditional martial arts where they didn't give credit to Africans. And I've read books where Asian martial artists admit that Africa is the source of Kung Fu. You know? So, yeah, it doesn't mean they have to agree with everything I say. You know, my politics no longer become like a big point in that person's mind when it comes to respecting and accepting me from that martial arts angle. You know? And the way I've demonstrated a superior adherence to the moral code which I expect, I demand of future martial artists to do the same. Anything else is the end of martial arts. There's one tradition that must persist. It must endure and remain, and that is fighting for honor in the African tradition. Everything else is important, but there's one that must remain. And I do so as a Christian. People have their religions. That's fine. Just like there was different Maltas or gangs with different ethnicities and different religions in them. But they have their shared philosophies and kind of subculture or countercultural norms. True martial artists live for honor and morality and things of this nature. They're not with, it doesn't matter what the state is doing. It doesn't matter what they say. Some martial artists they don't believe in being outspoken, right? They believe in inaction, Buddhism and things of this nature, right? But me, you know, I do believe in being outspoken. And I think that what you're seeing here is I have a lot of respect from a lot of great fighters, a lot of great martial artists. I know that. And I also have the admiration of a lot of women, many of which, under different circumstances, would be willing to marry me. I also have the potential for economic advancement, as I could leverage my skills more effectively than I have been doing. However, I chose to show you people, humanity, my people, all people, that this is what happens when you do the right thing the right way. God's way. You walk a higher path. You don't get your credit from those who walk a lower path. I didn't just stand firm. I stood firm in a martial arts stance, with my heart in rhythm with my mind and my soul, as my body vibrates with the martial arts code of morality, virtue, and truth, as I am prepared to deliver the first blow in a never-ending battle, a glorious battle that requires the exceptional adept to fight for honor.